Thank you very much indeed. So, good morning, everybody. I've got a set of slides I'd like to just take you through who Wyld Networks are, what we do, what our business is, and just give you an understanding of Wyld Networks. So Wyld Networks, we're a virtual satellite IoT operator. And I'm just going to take you through some slides and introductions to what we do, the business overview, the markets, our financials, and a summary. So just to look at our timeline, we formed the company in 2016 in Cambridge in the UK. And our focus at that time was looking at providing terrestrial coverage for the Internet of Things, so collecting data from sensors and devices. We then started to look at expanding that solution to look at satellite coverage, and I'll explain a bit more why we started to look at satellite coverage for the Internet of Things. But we've grown the company, we've formed partnerships with satellite operators such as Eutelsat, and we listed the company on the NASDAQ First North in 2021. And we started to sell our hardware component in about March this year, and our plan is to go to a full commercial solution by the end of this year. So who are we? As I said, we were formed in 2016 in Cambridge. We're about 28 employees as of the end of Q2. We listed on the NASDAQ First North last year in July, and we also placed ourselves on the OTC QB in the United States, which was really about allowing US investors to actually invest in the NASDAQ First North in Wyld, in US dollars and on their timeline. So what do we offer? We offer a satellite IoT solution. So it's utilizing satellites to collect data from IoT sensors and devices. And basically, we're leveraging a technology called LPWAN and low Earth orbiting satellites. And we offer our customers a low power, low cost solution for them to collect their data from their IoT sensors anywhere in the world. And the business model is quite interesting in that we sell a hardware device, which is a one-off fee, but then we charge our customers a monthly fee, which is up to about $5 per month to actually utilize the service. So we have a reoccurring revenue business model. So what is the problem that we're trying to solve? So today, only about 15% of the world's surface has got access to wireless networks. So you can collect data in that 15% of the world's surface where there's 2G, 3G, 4G, or terrestrial LoRaWAN networks. Now, most of those networks, or most of that coverage is in cities, is where we live. But companies are deploying millions, hundreds of millions of sensors in that other 85% of the world's surface where there's no access to the internet, so they can't collect their data. And it's this lack of global connectivity that's actually holding back the growth of IoT from adding about $2 to $3 trillion to global GDP over the next 10 years. So what we've done is we've developed a solution called Wyld Connect that allows our customers to collect their data from their IoT devices anywhere in the world by utilizing low Earth orbiting satellites. And I'll explain a bit more about why low Earth orbiting satellites can provide 100% global coverage. So here's a small diagram that basically explains a bit about what the products are and what the network looks like. So if we go to the right-hand side of that slide, you can see we have a terminal, and that terminal actually connects to IoT sensors. So whether those sensors are measuring air quality, whether they're measuring soil moisture, or whether they're measuring corrosion in oil pipes, our terminal connects to sensors, and we send the data from those sensors to low Earth orbiting satellites, and those low Earth orbiting satellites then send the data back down to a product called Wyld Fusion, which is our payment platform, and it's also our provisioning platform, and that platform then provides that data to our customers so they can do something with that data from their sensors. And if you look at the products, there's three products. There's a terminal, which we sell for, it's a bit under $100 a terminal, and that's for connecting to existing sensors, IoT sensors in the field. And then there's Wyld Connect, the module, which is basically the same as the terminals, just the electronics itself. And we sell that for about sort of $40 a module, and that gets integrated into new sensors that then get deployed into the field. And those two products basically are the modems. They actually collect the data from the sensors and send the data to the low Earth orbiting satellites. The low Earth orbiting satellites send that data back down to Wyld Fusion, and Wyld Fusion being the third part of our offer to the market, which is a software platform that sits in the cloud. It collects the data from the low Earth orbiting satellites. It provisions the terminals so that we know we're only collecting data from people that have paid for the data. And it's also our payment platform where our customers pay up to about $5 per month per device. And that's where our reoccurring revenue comes in. We then provide our customers access to Wyld Fusion. They collect their data and they do their data analytics on that data that we provide them with, and they can make informed decisions about what they want to do with that information. And I'll go through some use cases to explain a bit more about what our customers do. So here's the use cases. As you can imagine, because we're providing connectivity in that 85% of the world's surface where there's no access to the internet. So most of the verticals that we're going after are companies that have got assets, whether that's pipelines, whether that's containers, whether that's crops. They have assets in that 85% of the world's surface where there's no access to the internet. So that's agriculture, utilities, the environment, energy, oil and gas, maritime, supply chain logistics. Those are all verticals that have large businesses, and those businesses require to collect data in those areas where currently today there's no access to the internet. And if I can give you two examples of use cases. So if I take one in agriculture, soil moisture sensors. So what large companies are doing is they're deploying sensors into their fields to measure the amount of water that's currently in the soil. And if I could explain why they're doing that, our population is going to grow about another 2 billion people by 2050. We can't actually feed ourselves today. So that's one problem. Other problem in agriculture is about 30% of the waste of water globally comes from agriculture. So we have to fix that problem. So technology is being deployed into agriculture, and one of those use cases is soil moisture. So they put sensors into the field. Those sensors measure the amount of water that's actually in the field so they don't over-irrigate or under-irrigate. And basically, they can improve the yield of crop by about 14%. So they can increase the amount of food they're growing by about 14% on the same footprint. And also, they can reduce the amount of water they're wasting by up to 30% by using this technology. So those soil moisture sensors get deployed in agriculture. There's no access to the internet in farms. That data is sent through our solution via low Earth orbiting satellites to Wyld Fusion, and we give that information to the agricultural sector. So they then pay for that service, and they make decisions on when to irrigate, when not to irrigate. So that's just one example. And if I go to the energy sector, we're working with a company called Chevron, and what they want to do is they want to measure the corrosion in oil pipes, because obviously as an oil pipe corrodes, it may leak, and you get a leakage of oil or gas, an environmental disaster basically. A few years ago in Santa Barbara, several millions of gallons of oil was spilt, and we're still paying for that environmental problem. So what they do is they want to basically put sensors onto oil pipes. They collect information using our solution that allows them to do preventative maintenance. So they can start to see when there's going to be a problem, so they can actually go and fix it before it actually becomes a problem. But there are thousands of different use cases. That's just two examples of use cases that we currently solve for our customers. So where are we at the moment? As I said earlier, we're launching the commercial service at the end of this year, or in this year. However, at this moment, we're going through pilots with customers. We call them our launch partners. And so we're testing and piloting our solution and also starting to generate orders. So we have about 25 partners at the moment, or launch customers, that are working with us. As you can see from the map, predominantly that's in Latin America, South America, and also in North America, but also in Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. So we're basically testing the solution in about 20 countries around the world, and our plan is to complete that testing. Some of it's already completed, some of it we're in the midst of testing, and we'll start to do more testing as we move forward. And then we're generating purchase orders as we complete the tests with our customers. And next year, we're then going to expand into Asia Pacific. So we're going to start looking at business opportunities in Asia Pacific, which is potentially one of the biggest markets for us. So where are we? We talked about going through this launch phase, and we will launch the commercial service this year. However, we are testing with multiple partners, and we're already collecting orders. We have, to date, when we started to market our hardware piece, we've collected orders of about 33 million krona to date. But that's just for the hardware piece. That's for the $40 product. That doesn't include the data, which is up to $5 per device per month. So we're collecting orders for the hardware component, and once we launch the service, we'll be collecting orders and generating that reoccurring revenue of up to $5 per month per device. And to give you an idea of how many devices we've already got purchase orders for, there's about 92,000 devices we've already collected orders for. We'll obviously be collecting a lot more orders than that moving forward, but just to give you an idea of what that actually looks like. So the companies we're working with are large corporates, Chevron, Maersk, Syngenta, American Towers, DEWA in the UAE. These are large conglomerates that have a real need to collect data from that 85% of the world's surface where currently there's no access to the internet. So I just briefly want to show you how we've developed our order intake. As I said, we're now selling, ahead of the launch of the service, we're selling the hardware components, the $40 module. And that module actually gets integrated into sensors. So we started selling that towards the end of March this year, and we've built an order backlog of in excess of 30 million krona to date. And as I said, that represents about 92,000 units. So if you can understand the maths, that doesn't include the data service, and once we launch the service, we'll then be getting that reoccurring revenue for the data service of up to $5 per device per month. So you can actually do the maths on the 92,000 that we've already sold. That's 92,000 times up to $5 per month in revenue that will come in for actually allowing our customers to collect the data. So the size of the market, it's a pretty large market. It's a market of about $5.9 billion by 2025. And that's the total addressable market. And what we're focusing on is what we believe we can actually go after. So we believe that we can go after about $670 million US by 2025, which would give us a market share of about 11%. So there will be competition. There are other customers out there looking at launching a similar service, and we will be competing with these guys, but we believe that we have a technology that is well protected and unique and actually very, very affordable for our customers. So in summary, if I can just sort of, people ask me, so why invest in Wyld? And I think in summary, what I'd like to sort of try and give you an idea as to why. We are solving a real world problem. As I said, only 15% of the world's surface has access to the internet. We provide connectivity or access to the internet for the Internet of Things, so for sensors and devices anywhere in the world. So we provide our customers with 100% global coverage. That's solving a significant problem. I'd also like to say that, you know, a lot of the verticals we're going after, such as agriculture, is solving a real world problem, reducing the waste of water, increasing the yield of crop, issues that we all face. And in oil and gas, we're doing preventative maintenance work. We're looking at how to stop or how to allow our customers to basically reduce the amount of waste or environmental spillage they're putting into the world. So we are solving a real world problem. The business model is great. So we have, as I talked about, the one-off sale of the hardware device, which we're currently selling at the moment. And then we have that reoccurring revenue for the service, which is up to $5 per month per device. And if you want to look at us, so I said earlier, we're a virtual satellite IoT operator. Our business model is very similar to a mobile operator's business model, where they sell a mobile phone, which is the hardware piece, which is a one-off fee, and then they charge you up to $40 or $50 per month for the service. We're exactly the same. We're selling a piece of hardware, but it's not actually connected. It's not for voice, it's for data. It's for collecting data from sensors, and then we're basically getting a monthly fee for using the service. We have multiple agreements with very large customers, you know, Bayer, Syngenta, Chevron. These are large corporate customers that have a real need, and we're generating purchase orders already before we actually launch the service. We've secured patents. They're in the process of going through the regionalization process at the moment, and we've also trademarked our name and products. And lastly, what I'd like to say is that this is a significant market opportunity. I talked about the $5.9 billion as the total addressable market. You know, we've done our own view of what we're going to be going after in 2025, and that's about $670 million, which will give us about 11% share in the market. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Alistair. I have some questions then for you. You recently signed several partnerships.
Yes.
So what can we expect now? You're talking about the launch at the end of this year. So what are the steps to get there and actually get the product out?
To get the products out, so the steps are, we're waiting for an additional satellite to go up, additional 2 satellites to go up, so that we have enough satellites in the air to basically provide a service. So those satellites are in the process of being launched imminently. And once those satellites, so we've got 2 at the moment, we're getting another 2. And once we have those satellites launched, then we'll be able to offer that service. So without the satellite coverage, we can't actually offer a full commercial service. So the plan is to get those satellites, the additional satellites up there. Once we've got them up there, we can then launch that service. So that's really the process we're going through at the moment in getting ourselves to a full commercial service.
You mentioned some companies here. Can you tell us about the process to actually get the customer? How do you do this? You mentioned Bayer, for example.
Yeah.
How does the process look like?
The process is relatively simple in respect that we've targeted specific customers. So we targeted Bayer. You know, they're $38 billion company. So we've targeted large companies in the agricultural sector, in the energy sector, in the supply chain sector, in transportation, and we've targeted them specifically because we know they've got a problem to solve. And so we're going to those customers solving a problem that they're trying to solve themselves. So it's a relatively simple process, going to customers that have assets in that 85% of the world's surface where they have no connectivity, is a relatively easy sale, to be honest with you, because we're solving a problem for them. But I think quite importantly, it's about we have to show our customers the solution working, number one, but we also have to show our customers the return on investment, because this is a business. They need to understand when they're going to see a return on their investment. So the majority of the selling process is demonstrating to them the solution working and then also the return on their investment. And that's why we've developed a solution that we believe is really key, because we've made satellite IoT connectivity affordable.
You recently launched the stock on the US stock market.
Yes.
Can you tell us about why you did this, and what have you seen so far in terms of investors?
So we put ourselves onto the OTCQB in the US. Now the OTCQB, it's an over-the-counter platform. It allows US investors to invest in Wyld through the NASDAQ First North in US dollars and in US time zones. We've put the placing there. We're looking to put a roadshow together towards the end of September, when we're going to go across and start speaking to investors in the US. And then once we put the roadshow together, which I say will be sometime end of September, beginning of October, we expect to see US investors starting to invest in Wyld on the NASDAQ First North through the OTC.
Okay. Looking forward to that. While it's not profitable,
No.
we can see that. Can you say anything to these investors when you meet them in the US, when you will get profitable? How does the plan look like?
So the way we'll go commercial next year. So we'll start to generate revenues next year. And we're funding ourselves at the moment through what we raised when we listed on the NASDAQ First North. And we have another 2 warrant programs in place. A warrant program in November, December this year, which will generate some more capital for us to continue the work that we're doing. And then there's another warrant program early next year. Our view is that with those 2 warrant programs, we will have sufficient capital to get ourselves to a position where we can break even. So our view is looking at getting ourselves to a position where we're cash flow positive sometime in 2024, beginning 2024, is where our view is at the moment. But that obviously is dependent on the pickup of the market.
Mm. And what do you expect from this company if we look into the company a couple of years ahead? Can you say what
Yeah.
we can see then?
Well, our ambition, so at the moment we're focusing very much utilizing a technology called LoRaWAN, which is the core principal technology we use to communicate with the low Earth orbiting satellites. And that's a very good technology. But our roadmap is to bring NB-IoT, which is another protocol, onto our system, which is a protocol that's used in 5G. So by putting NB-IoT, so part of the 5G spectrum, onto our module and still communicating via low Earth orbiting satellites, allows us to offer our solution to mobile operators such as Telenor, Vodafone, T-Mobile, all the mobile operators that have got a 5G license that want to roll out IoT connectivity to their customers, and they'll use their 5G network in cities, but they're not going to roll 5G out into rural areas, and we're looking to get them to roll out our solution, so the satellite solution, into that 85% of the world's surface where there's no connectivity. So it's all about broadening our customer base and getting ourselves into the mobility space.
Okay, thanks, Alistair.
It's a pleasure.